What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical, right now it's a start of 2 hours plus 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock. It is a five gamer in the association, tipping off at 7 o'clock. Lots of games currently going on, games that have finished. There's some football going on because of some weather. The Bills currently up 7-0 on the Steelers. We got a touchdown out of, I think it was the tight end, right? It was Knox. Knox getting a 9-yard touchdown on the Steelers in the snow. Joining me to talk some basketball. It's Tasteful Tides. It's Tim. Tim lying to the people in chat saying I'm late. You always like to say I'm late. I was not late.
Well, we started at 5:02, Dean. The show's supposed to start at 5.
Well, I don't start the show. I've been here since like 4:55.
All right. Just saying.
We got producer TJ with us today, by the way. Just if you guys want TJ to interact with us, by all means, let us know. Kindly hit that like button as well when you're hanging out in the lobby. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. I call it the lobby. It's the chat, right? It's kind of a lobby. Sure. Why not? Tim,
right.
We got plenty of time. Plenty of time to knock this slate out, talk it through it. One of the tricky things about this slate is that two of the biggest names, two of the biggest studs on the slate are playing in the latest game, and the latest game is actually on the slate. Sometimes they kick it off. It's a 10:30 game, the Lake Show at home versus Oklahoma. LeBron, they're giving him the questionable tag, and typically it's nonsense with LeBron. He plays through him, but he did not play last game. My guess is he plays. Just kind of like gave him a day or whatever. They are home against the Thunder. Feels like kind of a premier game. And then you have SGA on the other side. That they gave him a knee. I assume he plays. I don't know that for certain. But if they don't play, certainly there's a domino effect. More so probably the OKC side than the LA side. I feel like if they had like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 games, this game would have got cut off. Something like, but that's not the situation because the sites did not want to make it a 4-gamer, understandably so. But that's one of the pickles we're in as far as this slate. Is that something that, are you taking a stand on this? You probably can't wait. Well, maybe 9 o'clock, Indiana, Utah. So maybe we get news by then. But sometimes we get it like in the 90 minutes beforehand, which means that we'll get it right at the bell, right at lock. Do we have a plan, Tim? What's the strategy here as far as SGA, LeBron? I'm just kind of sort of assuming they're in, but they are out. It could be a lot of fun if you have some open slots.
Yeah, so my initial plan on this slate was going to be to fade all the games up until the 9 o'clock game, but then we lost. But then we lost Jaylen Brown, so that puts a little wrinkle into that plan. And so obviously guys like Jason Tatum and Derek White, Sam Hauser for value have definitely be a part of this slate now. So. The Thunder LA game is my favorite game on the slate, and you're absolutely right. Like, how do you kind of like figure out what to leave open with SGA and AD? Because SGA on DK is so easy to fit, and he's far too cheap. So SGA is in an absolutely smash spot. And then same thing with Anthony Davis. Extremely easy to fit on DraftKings, a little bit harder on FanDuel, but still viable on both sites. And so, I mean, that's really the two studs that I want. But I think Jason Tatum now is definitely one of those studs. He's in the conversation now on the slate between SGA and AD.
So ran some optimals, Tim. Obviously, the stuff subject to change with news coming in. You mentioned Sam Hauser. He's probably the most popular person coming in on DK. And it's not even like an amazing play, right? He's 3.9, and he's got a 19-point median projection. But that's the other part, is you said that we're kind of searching for some value. DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. is another guy that's hitting some lineups at 4.8, 24-point projection. That's not spectacular, but, just the slate is pretty thin when it comes to value. Stuff can certainly open up, but as things stand, and again, when the news comes in, it's not even just what the news is, but when it comes in.
I think it's gonna be at the wire too, Dean. I don't think this is gonna be news that comes early.
Why do you say that? Like more so than this is going to be a Clipper thing. I don't know if you played last night. I thankfully took the night off for basketball. But played last night. They ruled out Zubac at 7:10 for a 7:00 start.
I don't mean like that, but I think it's gonna be after the Indiana game. We get all this Thunder and Laker news. That's my lean anyway. But yeah, I was not affected by that news last night, but still, yeah, that hurt a lot of people, I'm sure.
I caught some of the show yesterday. I think you guys were talking about Zubac, and maybe it was TJ that was hyping him up. I don't know. Yeah. I don't. Maybe it's too soon, TJ. Can I ask you about the Zubac situation yesterday? Because I know he was out, and then they said he's in. Like you ruled him in, and then he was out again. But he just pulled the Kaiser Soze, and he was gone. Poof. Yeah. Was that something that did you end up on a fair bit of Zubac there, TJ?
I didn't actually play last night because I was just doing NFL stuff, and so I got kind of lucky there. But yeah, my top two centers in terms of analysis were Lopez and Zubac for tournaments. And so if I was playing, I probably would have had about 20-30% of them. So I'm glad I wasn't.
Yeah, what a big old mess there that was. But come on, NBA. I don't want to do this lecture. I feel like we do it too often. But I mean, seriously, it's embarrassing. You're supposed to be like a real organization, and 10 minutes after the game locks, basically as the game's tipping off, Zubac was real. I don't know if anything happened in warmups, but like he was bouncing back and forth throughout the day, in and out. I did see that. We may see somebody bounce in. We haven't seen it in a while. Jimmy Butler, he's got that toe. He's got 10 of them. One of them was not feeling particularly good. So he's been out for 6, 7, 8 games. He's questionable. It feels like the news flow is suggesting he's going to play tonight. Right on time, because Jaime Jaquez, he hurt his groin yesterday. That whole slate was a disaster, and it was crushing in the first half, and then he did not play in the second half. Kevin Love, of course, is out. They gave him a knee. Lowry's got an old hand, so Miami can definitely use Jimmy Butler. I don't know how many minutes he would play in his first game back in a bit, but it seems like he's going to play. I believe we are projecting him in. But, yeah, Tim, anything else that we should sort of mention? I would also say like Jalen Williams currently projects really well on DK, and he would just he's already a good play with or without SGA, but he would jump off the page. So if you want to just put him in there, and it can get better if you have Jalen Williams. We do have an if then set up for OKC. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Actually, worth talking about.
Yeah, so it makes Chet Holmgren a DK value. Jalen Williams is off the charts, and Josh Giddey would be a positive DK value also. Lou Dort a little bit, and Isaiah Joe also.
Yeah, Isaiah Joe would project pretty decently. Let's see. What is his? I have not looked at his salary. 3.8 on DK. Yeah, he would look pretty good.
Yeah.
He would be a better play than Sam Hauser, but you can't wait it out, right? Right. But they're basically the same price, and he's an interesting pivot. And it's not a crazy thing that ownership wise, as far as Joe versus Sam Hauser right now, it's probably 7x the difference. Just kind of thinking about game theory wise, right? What do we have? Hauser 30%. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was surprised to see Cason Wallace is not a positive DK value if SGA is out. Projected to play 30 minutes. I think he'd be a solid value play.
He's a good defensive player. Well, what is his fantasy points per minute? I don't think he's very good fantasy points per minute wise. I could be wrong here. You know what? Again, I mentioned this before, and I love the lineup HQ tool, but for whatever reason, rookies are not on there as far as their fantasy points per minute. So I have to go, world's smallest violin, but I have to now go to the Court IQ tool and see. Now I'm kind of curious now that you brought it up as far as Wallace. How many minutes would he project for? 30, you said?
Yeah.
Fantasy points per minute on the season for Wallace. Let's see. Oh, it's in per 36. I like it for 1 minute. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to play 36 minutes or not.
So .66, and then you take off SGA. Take off SGA. He goes to...
Probably not a big change for him, I'm guessing, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Are you running it?
Yeah, I'm running it. 0.74. So yeah, not a big difference.
Yeah, 14-0. By the way, all the tight ends for Buffalo, not just Knox, now Kincaid. You got to stack the tight ends. I saw TJ saying in chat that tight end weekend I mean, sure, but you kind of needed Ferguson. Like Ferguson, you sort of needed those 3 touchdowns of Ferguson. Jordan caught like that 80-yarder or so for Houston. I believe, did Schultz do something? He listed Schultz. Did he? I know Musgrave got loose. Dallas just said, yeah, let's not cover that guy. Let's give him like a 70-yard touchdown. Laporta, he got it through. He actually ran a bunch of routes. I was sort of surprised how much he played. Yeah, I guess we have some decent tight ends going through. We'll talk football obviously later on in the week, but do we care? Do we have anything on this Buffalo-Pittsburgh game? Do you have an eye on it, Tim? Just from a watchability, I'm always fascinated by the elements, especially being like a Florida boy. You know, the snow. Yeah. Is there anywhere for the people in the crowd to sit? I saw like all the stands.
Yeah, I saw those clips. Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Yeah,
that was actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I actually bet Buffalo -10, so I'm pretty happy.
I got a -14, the alt line. Yeah.
Yeah. You and your alt lines. You have to alt line everything, don't you?
We hit the alt for what was the under? We hit Miami, Kansas City. We hit the alt for that, like but plus 180, plus 190, whatever it was. You know, I was having this conversation, and we'll talk this like we got plenty of time, obviously. Tim, like if you were maybe like I don't know, 20 years old, and you were a fan of the Bills, would you go out there and grab a shovel and get paid $20 an hour? I think it depends on where you're at. What if you're like this is your favorite team? I love the Bills, and now you're kind of sort of like a part of the story. Like this is the place where Josh Allen's going to like win the Super Bowl. No, in no circumstance, because I feel like you're taking advantage of people. Like you pay the people $30 an hour. Like who wants to do this? I think they're taking advantage of fandom. That's how
I hate shoveling, Dean. I'm from Maine. I have to do it all the time. So no thanks.
Is it miserable? I imagine it's miserable. I've never shoveled snow in my life.
It is pretty bad.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
I got a guy. You may have heard Mr. Plow. That's his name. That name again, Mr. Plow. And he had a rival, the Plow King, that kind of tried to take over his territory. But let's not get into that. It was a whole thing. But Mr. Plow was really, really good. So you never have to do it yourself. He'll take care. He brings the truck. But TJ, you're on like what, -30? What is it right now in Saskatoon?
Right now, yeah, it's negative. It's actually nice compared to how it was earlier in the week. It's only like feels like -35 right now. And so I wouldn't go out and shovel at Buffalo, but like I'd go to the game. I'm wearing my Saskatchewan Rough Rider sweatshirt right now. I used to wear this thing out to football. Like we'd go to the Rough Rider home playoff games and they'd be like -20. So that's just par for the course.
But you had a seat though. They supply the seat for you. Like if there was any
but like you just give it you wipe it off a little bit, then you make yourself a little nook in the snow. It gets warm, like a little igloo.
Fair enough. All right. But like you can control the environment at home. There's like a couch. And, if you can get your own beverages. I get it, I suppose. But I was thinking it's kind of I could see why somebody would want to do that. Just so you're kind of sort of part of the story. If that's your favorite team, you have fandom and all that. But I guess they didn't get enough shovel people, and they just said they obviously prioritized the field over the stands. All right. What else we say here, Tim, before we dive in and do the old game-by-game deal? Again, just 5 games. We're here for the next hour or so. Crunch time comes in. You got Will and, oh, boy, is it Keith? I don't remember who's with
it's
Will.
Keith. It's Keith.
Okay.
It's Keith.
Okay. I looked at the screenshot. I looked at the image on the YouTube, and I was pretty sure that's what it was. Of course, Roth bringing it home as well. The FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time. I should mention before we fully dive in about the Sims. Use Sim Labs. Generate DFS lineups with the power of simulation. Combines data from every aspect of the slate to turn out lineups to match your preferences. Just a few clicks. You get hundreds well-built, correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. If you're playing single entry, if you're playing a large field, or playing a small field, just, put in a few inputs and it'll pump out a bunch of lineups for you. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, obviously we've had NFL Sim Labs for a while now. NBA Sim Labs is a thing now. Devin was saying, and I guess maybe TJ can vouch for this. I'm not sure if this is an old read or not. While we were in beta mode, that it was free. My understanding was beta mode was supposed to end Sunday. I don't know if it's ended or not. I can't speak to that.
As of now, it's still beta.
Okay.
That was like confirmed with the ad reads. That's why it still says that, because it hasn't been updated yet. So as of this moment, it's still beta and free, but that could be changing like any day now.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to tell the people that it's free and then it's not free because I know there was sort of like this gray. It's probably going to be ending around Sunday or so. But as of right now, it is free. If you don't mind, TJ, drop a link in chat for the people. It's probably in the description as well if they want to go ahead and check out NBA Sim Labs. Okay. First game on the slate. And all right, we have 7 o'clock, the Bulls at the Cavs, 7:30, Boston, Toronto. So only one game at 7 o'clock. 2 games 7:30, then a break for an hour and a half, and then a break for an hour and a half. Tim, very first game on the slate, it's the Bulls, it's the Cavs, 222 is the total. Cavs are 4-point favorites. Not one of the more appealing games on the slate, if you ask me. I'm going to be asking you. You tell me. What do you think of Cavs Bulls as far as who's in and who's out in this one? Max Strus is questionable. Of course, Mobley and Garland, they're still out. They've been out for a while. Chicago, Dosunmu was questionable, the shoulder. Williams has an ankle, so he's questionable. Otherwise, they are basically fully healthy. If Strus doesn't go, like maybe we consider dusting off Sam Merrill. Well, he's 5K now.
He's five. Yeah, he's 5K. Yeah.
Okay. I thought he'd be cheaper than that, but okay. Because you want to get the Chicago outside. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, no. So I wanted to get to Sam Merrill also, but 5K is too much. I actually, dead serious, have a lot of interest in Donovan Mitchell at 2% ownership.
Superstar Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, superstar Donovan Mitchell, 2% owned. Like on this 5-game slate, yeah, it's not the best game environment, but he's showing up in optimals about 7% of the time. So I think he's a spectacular GPP play. I don't really have any interest in Strus or Coro or Wade, obviously. I think Jarrett Allen is somewhat interesting as well at 8,500. We've seen him. The whole offense has changed with no Mobley and no Garland. And Allen's doing a whole bunch of offensive things now. So I actually have some interest in Allen also. But I think Mitchell might be one of the best tournament plays on the entire slate.
Yeah, so are we making one lap tonight, Tim? Is that the plan?
Yep.
So that's the tricky thing, right? And if you play Mitchell, you're probably not playing SGA, and
right.
He's not bad, and like he puts up 48 points, and it didn't kill you, but that's probably not going to make you. That's his median score, and the news flow might be in your favor. It might not be in your favor, but also you can just sort of like turn the night off if you want to do that too. If you're just sort of locked in on stuff and you can't even really adjust a ton to whatever news.
He's an MME play, but still, at 2%, like you could put him in two out of 20 teams and be 3x the field. I think that's a great GPP play.
That's kind of what I was asking because, like, I think he's fine, but if I'm only making one lineup, I do not envision myself playing him. That's sort of where I'm at. And it sounds like that's where you're at too. And if you're playing more, sure, of course, but you want your one lineup to have Mitchell as like your one big spend? Probably not. That's what it sounds like. That's what I'm hearing, I think.
Yeah, no, but I mean, SGA is going to be 30-40%, I'd say, in single entry, and Mitchell's going to be 3% for $400 less. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's out of the question to play him in single entry.
TJ, you chiming in? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm chiming in. I X'd out this entire game in my 20 entry max, but Tim has convinced me to include Donovan Mitchell. And I agree. I think that just like 2% ownership compared to whatever it is, 7 or 8% optimal rate. I think that's a great call for tournaments especially if you're building a few lineups.
Give it a refresh, by the way. Not that it makes a big difference, but I see Mitchell currently 4.6% now. Ownership got updated like 15 minutes ago or so, but like 2%, 4%, what's the difference? Essentially the same. The most popular player coming up in this game, according to our ownership projections, as a 507 on the East Coast, this is DK, is Zach LaVine at 18%, Caruso at 16%, Vuk at 14%, LeVert at 10%. Double D's DeMar DeRozan at 10%. White at 5 seems pretty interesting. I don't know what the big difference between White and LaVine and DeRozan is, to be honest. And he's the cheapest and still the lowest ownership. I don't mind that. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is probably what TJ was doing. And I only make a couple lineups tonight, and that's all I'm making. I think I'm making 2. We'll see if anything opens up in the lobby. But I'm probably just not playing anybody in this game. That's just –
I don't blame you.
A 4-game slate. And maybe I have another half hour for news to come in. I don't know if it's going to come in, but there's a chance that news comes between 7 and 7:30. We getting news now. The news is Max Strus is a game time decision. Do we have something on Strus? If then,
no, we don't. I don't
what
think
would you
that
guess?
really. Well, I think it would be Merrill, right?
Yeah, but how many more minutes would he get? That's kind of what I'm getting at. I think, like we're currently projecting Strus with 34. That 34 minutes to go around. Merrill with 23. He probably jumps up to like 28, 29, 30. Right? Is that fair to say? I guess Craig Porter would get a bunch of minutes. He's only projected for 2. So
I don't think Merrill would get 30 minutes. Maybe like 28.
Okay. So that's 5 more. So where do the 29 Strus minutes go? Porter gets like 15, something like that?
Yeah, and then you give a couple more to Levert, right?
Yeah. I don't know how much they can push him, but yeah. We're giving 28 to Levert. I guess they can give him 30.
And then you give a couple more to Okoro, right?
He probably goes like to 30. Yeah, 28 to 30.
Yep. And then Wade gets a couple more.
Minivan Yang will probably go from like 21 to 23, something like that. Just trying to see if there's like one player that if Merrill only plays 23 minutes, I don't want it. But if he plays like 28, 29, I think he's like in the pool, that kind of thing. And you want to attack Chicago, that you want to do it from the outside, and you don't know if Merrill's going to make his threes, but he's going to shoot some threes, right?
Right.
So, yeah, and then that's probably more. That's again, we just don't have a lot of players 5K and under on this slate.
Value is super thin on this slate. So I understand if you want to play Merrill, but I can't do it.
I just want to do the old point per dollar, best play point per dollar on the slate. And
it's
I'm going to try not to tilt. I'm going to try not to tilt him, but you're not going to believe it. But the best point per dollar plays are also the most expensive players.
Yep.
Jalen Williams, 6.9K. Tatum, 9.7. SGA, 10.2. Like both those look awesome. Marketing versus Indiana, 8.4. Derek White, no Brown. Nick Claxton, Anthony Davis, Quickly, Clarkson, Barrett. The first one under 5K is DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. at 4.8, which to me is kind of fragile. I don't love that, but I get it.
And he's going to be 31% owned.
Yeah, I mean, do you want against Miami? Do you want 31% owned DSJ versus Miami? It's like
I really don't. No.
Yeah, but like when you start filling out your lineup, it's like okay, somebody's got to like make this work. Somebody's got to be cheap. So that's why maybe Sam Merrill is not completely nuts. And that's under the hopes or the thought that Strus is out. How much is Strus, by the way? Because I was just not really thinking about Strus. Is he playable?
He is 6'4".
Yeah.
6'4" on Fan. He's 6'4" on FanDuel. Sorry, 6'6" on DK.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to pay 6.6 for Max Strus? Probably not.
No, definitely not.
I'm trying to make something here. I'm trying to make something work here, lineups wise, and nothing really gets me excited here as far as Chicago, Cleveland. Anything else we should note before we move on? Because it doesn't sound like we're terribly enthused. And if we do get news, of course, the projection team will update it. If not on this show, on Crunch Time. But the news was no update, right? Game time decision, which is worthless. That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Buffalo still pitching a shutout. Oh, Pittsburgh's on the goal line. First and goal at the 3-yard line. There you go.
No.
That's not good. Yeah. I have a lot of Buffalo defense. All right. Let's move on and talk about the Celtics. The Celtics at Toronto. Are they I have my back-to-back stuff written down. Hold on a second. No. Okay, yeah. So teams in the front end, the Thunder, which also gets me a little bit concerned about SGA because it's the front end of a back-to-back. And on the back end of a back-to-back, it's my Miami Heat. We talked about them losing Jaime Jaquez last night, and the Pacers. The Pacers are on the back end in Utah, historically a tough place to play a back end. We'll talk about that game soon enough. Boston and the Raptors, 238.5 is the total. Toronto is a 8-point dog here? No, 6-point dog here, 6.5-point dog. Brown being out is significant for the Celtics. Otherwise, they are fully healthy. Toronto, they're without no Pirtle. Pirtle is out. Otto Porter is out. That doesn't matter so much. I don't know about us starting Thad Young. I know we had to make a decision on this. I'm curious if you have a thought on this.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of talk about him, but I think he lost his power forward eligibility on DK. So that really hurts his value, in my opinion.
Well, I thought you were going to say he lost his starting job, and he might have. Like, he lost it at halftime last game because
That's
he did
true
not start
too.
the second half. Gary Trent started the second half. And also, who's the other guy who didn't start the second half? RJ Barrett didn't start the second half. I don't want to say the honeymoon's over, but maybe TJ can chime in his thoughts as far as the Raptors, what he thinks, what's going to happen lineup-wise, because starting the second half last game, and they were getting shellacked. Utah just put a hurting on them. They beat them by 30 points. They dropped a 145. The Jazz, break out the Jazz. They're like the hottest team in basketball right now. They've been very good. Not fun from a DFS perspective per se, but just like winning, they don't care about that. They're just winning basketball games. Jonte Porter started the second half with Pascal and Scotty, Quickly, and Gary Trent. So Porter and Trent jumped in the starting lineup, and Barrett and Thad did not. They did not start the second half. TJ, you got a thought on that? This is your Raptors team. They just kind of messing around because there's a shellacking going on. I see the Spurs did the same thing this afternoon against Atlanta. They were getting pummeled, and they pulled some of their starters to start the second half. Is this like a one-off, or are they just trying to figure it out? Because, do you really want to be starting Thad Young in the year 2024? Probably not. But their options are also kind of thin.
Yeah, so Young definitely just seems like a little bit of a placeholder for now until they figure something else out. Maybe that'll be Jonte Porter, who steps into that 22-ish minute role that starts going here forward. But the RJ Barrett thing, I think that was just an experiment. Like, they do probably have to figure something out and just kind of realize, like, maybe we don't need that many people who want the ball in their hands in the starting lineup, because you already have Quickly, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam. And so maybe he'd be a better fit as a 6-man for right now until you get rid of Siakam. But having said that, I'm not reading too much into it. If Young starts, though, I still only think he's just kind of fine. Like, I think if he starts picking up some ownership, Jonte Porter, even if he does come off the bench, is the much better tournament play.
Yeah, we're giving Young 23 minutes. We're giving Porter 16. It feels like kind of a hedge because they don't, And Young's been okay fantasy-wise this season, 0.95. Not great, but not terrible. Porter better at 1.01. And your best guess, TJ, as far as the starting lineup? I think Barrett starts again. I agree with that thought. I think that was just kind of a one-off thing, but I'm not certain that Young starts.
I could see them going back to what we projected the other day with Gary Trent starting over Thad Young and then Siakam at the 5, just because Boston doesn't have a guy that they stick inside all the time. Like, Porzingis is going to be at the 3-point line more than he's posting up anyways. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see them go Siakam at the 5 and then Gary Trent there. But I do think Young probably just starts and they play him like 18 minutes, 16 minutes, something like total, something like that.
By the way, Rudolph apparently threw an interception on the 3-yard line or so. Still 14-0 Buffalo. Bills ball on their own 22. Okay. All right. So, Tim, what are we doing with this? Because I don't feel really great about Thad Young. He's kind of cheap, and we're looking for value. So maybe, you said, though, he did lose his power forward eligibility. He's like a center and center only now in DK. He's power forward and power forward eligibility. Power forward only on FanDuel. 4-1 is the asking price on both sites. Probably more popular in FanDuel, just kind of the way lineup construction goes. How are you handling Young and just the Raptors in general?
Yeah, I would get my exposure to Young on FanDuel if I was going to play him. I don't mind Emmanuel quickly at 6.9K. The Celtics team is obviously amazing defensively, but I think there's plenty of scoring opportunities for Toronto. It's a pretty high total, so quickly, and that would be about it for me for Toronto.
All right, I'm getting news on the Warriors.
I'm surprised by Barrett's ownership number, 27.3. Is that what you have?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. That seems a little bit high.
That seems so high. I definitely don't want Barrett if he's going to be that high owned.
Yeah, I mean it's a small slate. Mid-tier stuff is, he's not cheap, but he's not super expensive, obviously.
Right.
But Warriors continuing to start Dario Saric, if you care about such things. I feel like that game starts at 6:00. Is Draymond coming back? Is that today he's coming back, or is that? I thought he was cleared to come back. I've not followed that game because it's not on the main slate. But
I thought he was cleared. I thought he was cleared to come back.
I thought so too. Looney is starting at the 5. Looney and Saric. Maybe they're kind of working him back in. I think Draymond missed a couple games because of conditioning as well. The Boston side, right? When one of their key pieces are out, they have a really condensed rotation. All the other guys kind of rise up. Tatum looks great. Derek White looks spectacular. If you're on the court IQ stuff, I think White is the biggest benefactor.
He is, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
you talk about
his usage goes up 6.3%. His DK plus minus goes up 11 points, which is by far the highest on the team. So really, it's Derek White, and then Jason Tatum is obviously a spectacular play. And then Hauser for value also.
So Tatum we like better than different position, but Tatum versus SGA. Assume SGA is in. Who do you prefer amongst those two?
Yeah, that's like kind of the impossible spot right now. I think I like Tatum more, but it's super close. I think that currently we have Tatum at 32% and SGA. No, I keep pulling up FanDuel. Sorry. We have Tatum at 25, and we have SGA at 17. Yeah, that's really close. Maybe if they're really going to be that, if SGA is going to be that low owned, I'd go SGA.
The first optimal I got on DK has them both for what it's worth, but you can imagine the rest of the pieces are not necessarily what you want. But we do, turns out, we live in the world of a salary cap, so you got to kind of pinch pennies where you can. But yeah, I want to try to figure out a way to get both those guys, but at what cost is sort of the question. And the other part is we don't really know if SGA is even playing. Go ahead.
And the other part is, I really like Anthony Davis on the slate. He's got a 13 rebound prop. Like, he's going to dominate the glass. Yeah, I do too. So I really like Anthony Davis and SGA. So definitely can't play all three. Certainly not. So it's like, I really want to build a game stack of that Thunder Laker game.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too far ahead as far as that game, but just thinking about, like, if you have LeBron in your lineup, it'd be great if you had $600 left over. If you can somehow, but again, we're pinching pennies, and I don't know how you have it. But then, like, if LeBron for whatever reason doesn't play, you can get the Davis. Or if you have to have LeBron, have it be in the utility spot and have 300 left over, and hopefully SGA plays. But I also, like, if I'm playing LeBron, I kind of want to play at least one piece of the Thunder. Hopefully SGA, if not him. Jalen Williams, but just understand the lineup stuff. Just kind of try to do not put yourself in a really bad spot where you only have one, you have like a point guard and it's SGA and that's all you have for the night game and there's no news out there. Again, I would assume he plays most games. Who do they play tomorrow? It's the front half. I wonder if they play an important game like in LA. Feels like a game where he'd want to play. And injury wise, I don't think it's terribly severe, my understanding, for what he has. But maybe he fits tomorrow.
They play the Clippers tomorrow.
Revenge game. That makes sense, of course. Yeah, the old SGA revenge game. He doesn't no traveling or nothing, but Ugh.
Also,
Yeah.
also wanted to say don't sleep on Peyton Pritchard for as a tournament value. I think coming in at 10% projected ownership right now, he's one of the best tournament values on the slate. He could close if it's close. He could close if it gets ugly, just depending on how they do things. Kind of like a TJ McConnell light. I like Peyton Pritchard quite a bit, and also Josh Allen just had like a 60-yard touchdown run.
Oh, we have the over props on Josh Allen. Ha ha! Take that, Tim. We got him over 50 yards in the prop. You don't bet the alt lines.
Wow.
All right, that's good. Very nice. I wonder if he hits 100 yards in the ground. 61. How long was this touchdown? 52 yards. Oh, I love it. Beautiful. Okay. By the way, Porzingis feels like a really good play here, especially in the absence of Pirtle. I like him outside. I like him inside. Again, I don't know how to prioritize my Celtics. Ideally, Tim, I think I want Tatum first. I'm pretty sure it's White over Porzingis when you consider the savings. But Zinger's been a better fantasy point better player in this season than White, like 1.22 versus 1.05. But I believe White's going to play more minutes. We got him projected for 2 more right now for what it's worth. Holiday kind of gets lost. Interesting thing TJ said is about Pritchard versus Hauser. And I never seem to get those guys right. Like it's like whenever one's popping, the other one goes off. But it's all about who makes their threes amongst those two, basically. But Pritchard's been a better fantasy point minute player in the season, better usage as well. 0.87, 16% usage. Hauser 0.77, 14% usage. He is cheaper though, of course, which certainly matters. $700 cheaper. Do you have a thought on that, Pritchard versus Hauser? And do you feel okay about Hauser being kind of chalky? Is that, the floor is rough on these guys when they're not making their shots, but when they do, they go 4 for 5 from 3. You feel like a big dope. It's like, well, why didn't I play this guy?
I prefer Hauser over Pritchard straight up, but there's going to be a huge ownership gap. So I understand the theory behind getting to Pritchard. So yeah, but Hauser is better in a vacuum, I think.
Let's see some questions in chat. Yeah, please chat, join the conversation. Just myself and Tim the next TJ's jumping in as well. We do appreciate that. But for the next 40 minutes or so, 35 minutes till crunch time comes in. Mr. Richards asking about Porzingis. I talked about Porzingis. I didn't get a thought on you as far as Porzingis, unless you gave it and I missed it. And I was just too excited about Josh Allen, but hitting those alt lines. But what are your thoughts as far as the Zinger?
I think he's fine. 7%. He's going to be super low owned. I have no issue with that at all whatsoever. Obviously, he's a way to get different in your Celtic stacks. So I like the play quite a bit.
And so can you give me like the 1 through 6 on your prioritization of the Celtics?
Well, for me, it'd be Tatum, White, Hauser, and then probably Porzingis. Yeah.
I didn't hear Horford.
Nah. I'm not playing. I'm not gonna recommend him.
I don't think I am either.
I would go Drew. Drew's fine at 6'7". He's fine.
Yeah,
but Horford not for me on this slate. No chance.
Flying armbar. Would you rather go double cheap? This is on FanDuel. Double cheap at point guard or double cheap at power forward? Huh. Have you had a chance to look at that question? It's tricky.
I was looking at that question, trying to figure out an answer for him. So I think I would rather go. That's tough.
Who would be the double cheap point guards? Like Dennis Smith Jr. is probably one of them. I'm guessing.
Well, no, it'd probably be Dennis Smith and Dennis Schroeder probably as your cheap point guard.
Yeah,
and then for cheap power forward,
Cam
Thad
Johnson.
Thad definitely.
What's cheap?
41 for. Yeah, that's 41 for Thad definitely, and then Cam Johnson. So I think I'd rather go cheap. Cheap. I guess cheap power forward.
All right. Anything else we should say here as far as here's a 2v2. Pritchard and DSJ versus Wood and Achimura is that sounds like one of the dilemmas. He says he's not playing Rat Dad, which I get. Woof. Wood.
I don't know
if he's Rat Dad Woof, but I'm playing Christian Wood. I get it, but
if he's starting on FanDuel at 41 with power forward eligibility, I think you should play him.
But like TJ says, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but like there's a pretty decent chance he can start and just disappear. He could just pull a magic. Yeah. It's uncomfortable, but that's just sort of where we're at as far as the slate. As things stand, is there any news coming in on the old Twitter? Let's see. Nope, just as far as the Warriors and as far as the Grizz. Dosunmu available to play for Chicago. Dalen Terry also available to play too. Not terribly meaningful. We still don't have news as far as Max Strus. Let's move on and talk about my Miami Heat at the Nets. 220.5 is the total of the Heat. They are 1-point dogs here. They are dealing with injuries. They've been dealing with injuries seemingly all season long. There seems like to be a decent chance we're getting Jimmy Butler probably comes back tonight with his toe. He's officially questionable. Kyle Lowry is doubtful with his hand, and Jaime Jaquez, he's got a groin, so he cannot play. And Kevin Love, no basketball for him. It is the back half of back-to-back for Miami. Brooklyn, they are pretty healthy, right? Well, Ben Simmons, of course, we haven't seen him in a long time. Day'Ron Sharpe is still out. DFS Dorian Finney-Smith should be good to go. We're projecting him to start at the 4. Dinwiddie, Bridges, Cam Johnson, pretty good price on FanDuel. DFS Claxton versus Hero, Highsmith, Butler, Jovic, Bam. How many guys would they have available? Richardson, Robinson, Martin, Bryant, and Orlando Robinson. I guess it'd be like 11 guys in total for Miami, assuming Jimmy plays, unless they call up some G League stuff that has not yet come across. But okay, Jimmy. We can't play, right?
We can't play Jimmy. No.
And him being there mucks everybody else up to some degree, right? So there should theoretically be value, but the guys you want, Hero and Bam, they're already priced up, and now Jimmy's going to come and take some of theirs. So, Miami.
I still like Bam. I still think there's a ceiling on Bam. And if Butler doesn't play, Bam is a top play on the slate. So Bam is definitely a high usage guy. With no Jaquez now. So yeah, I actually don't mind Bam at all on the slate, even with Butler.
What are we getting ownership wise for Bam? Let's see,
8%, 9%.
Yeah. Bam could get there and score like 15 points. Like he doesn't necessarily have to put up 28. It's nice. He has different routes, but certainly he's got a stock ceiling sometimes. He'll dish some assists too. And the boards, like there's a chance he can grab like 13, 14, 15 boards and get himself a double-double as well. Claxton's got a pretty reasonable price. I don't really love the matchup here versus Bam. 20% is the ownership on DK. We mentioned several times about DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. at 29%, which is not great. 23 minutes.
Fine. He's fine for a last piece at 4-4, I think. Claxton is too high owned for me in a really bad matchup. So I'm off Claxton. I'm fine with DFS. I'm fine with Cameron Johnson, especially on FanDuel. That would be, and then this Dennis Smith Jr. situation, like he is going to be so chalky, and I'm not sure that is good chalk at all. Coming off the bench, projected to play, I think 26 minutes. He's 4.8. He's going to be 30% owned, even higher in single entries. So I'm really hesitant to click on DSJ.
Have you made a shell lineup yet for your single entry?
I was trying to, but I haven't done it yet because I kept having to play DSJ, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a way to get away from him, and I hear it doesn't sound like you want to play him, and I don't want to play him either. And you said like last man in, I suppose maybe you don't blow everything up, but I don't want to play him. That seems to be the sentiment, but I also may play him begrudgingly. Not the plan, just might kind of sort of somewhat be forced into that. Do we like Jovic? Anything for Miami? What if Butler doesn't play? Do we have anything set up for?
Well, if Butler doesn't play, then Bam is like an amazing play, in my opinion. I don't
51-point projection. Anything. Yeah, we have an if then. Yeah. He will be at 51-point projection. The only positive DK and FanDuel value play if Butler's out. Now, Hero's kind of fringy. He's right there, like almost like a 40-point projection. DK 38 FanDuel. This is on the if then stuff. Duncan Robinson will be okay, but like there wouldn't because like Jovic is already priced up a bit, 5'5". Highsmith is not. He's 4'6", 4'8", whatever he is. Yeah. Again, I think there's a pretty decent chance that Butler plays. Nothing official just yet, but was it Ira Wenderman? I think he was the one that kind of given the suggestion that this could be the game he comes back. But anything else as far as Miami, Brooklyn we should mention, we should focus on here?
No, I don't think so.
Let's see. Question in chat. Joey Porter from Toronto. No, Joey Porter is like a linebacker for the Steelers many years ago. He's talking about Jonte Porter.
Jonte Porter, yeah.
Or Jalen Smith as a possible punt.
I would vote for Jalen Smith.
I mean, I would say Jalen Smith's minutes are more secure for sure. Yeah, if you want to get really frisky, it's Jonte. But again, he did start the second half last game. But we'll talk about the Pacers and the Jazz. Actually, that's the next game. And it's really interesting because, 245.5 is a total. Indiana, 6-point dog here. Utah, one of the best teams in basketball the last, 10 games, whatever. They're on a big streak right now. They're going streaking. We know Indiana is without Halliburton. Bruce Brown and Naismith are officially questionable. Utah is fully healthy, which is good for them, but like it's not great for predicting Utah rotations.
Right.
And that's the thing, because we have two teams that are more fluid than most when it comes to who's going to get how many minutes. And the tricky thing with Indiana, with Halliburton, it's like, stuff's going to open up because Halliburton's out and there's all these minutes and there's all this usage to go around. But what happened was they started playing slower, and the big thing is they have a 10-man rotation now, so they're cutting up the pie in more pieces, and nobody's getting they're not maxing anybody out. They're not condensing it. They're expanding the rotation. So nobody is really it's so weird. Nobody in Indiana pops with Halliburton out, and also the price is adjusted too.
Yeah, definitely. I do have some interest in Nembhard. At least on FanDuel. He's pretty cheap, 56. Mathurin on DK and FanDuel. Bruce Brown, I think, is viable. We have to wait to see about this Naismith news also, right? That's pretty important, I think. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not. I'm surprised given Halliburton's usage that more people are not popping for the Pacers in this matchup.
Last 10 games data, fastest pace in basketball, the Indiana Pacers, right? That's not terribly surprising. You know who's number 2, Tim? I mean, why else would I bring it up?
Could it be Utah?
Yeah. The Pacers and the Jazz are the two fastest teams in basketball, last 10 game data. As far as offense, let's see. Indiana 5th, Utah 10th, and I think Utah 7th defensively. So Utah's been playing fast, and they've been playing good defense. The Pacers, I think they're middle of the road as far as their defense when it comes to defensive efficiency. So again, a good environment. Two teams playing fast, but it's just everybody's going to play 28 minutes, right? TJ McConnell's going to come off the bench and play 24 minutes, and they're 24 great minutes, but there's only so many minutes.
We have him projected for 22, and the other guy is Keontae George. We have him projected for more minutes than DSJ coming off the bench. I think he's a great pivot away from Dennis Smith. Is Keontae George?
Yeah, I like that call. Keontae George, but he's probably not going to start. It's probably going to be done. He's not going to start, but he's still projected for more minutes than DSJ. I think Clarkson's one of the more interesting pieces here. Of course, he's one of the most expensive pieces in this game, marketing as well. But, Clarkson's the minutes are sort of fragile when it comes to these rotations, Utah. But when he's in, he's in. Like, he basically stays in. He doesn't start, but once he comes in, he'll stick around. He basically doesn't come out. As far as his minutes projection, it's 30.
Butler's in.
There you go. We got one right. Scoreboard 1-0.
That's too bad. I wanted to play Bam. Now I'm just that whole game's an X out for me now.
It's so weird. Yeah, Miami's without several pieces, but Butler coming back kind of mucks it up. And even if he was out, like, the game wasn't spectacular.
No.
And what are we projecting for Butler minutes?
Bam.
32, kind of full. Okay. I mean, I'm not playing Bam. Butler in his first game back.
No.
Bam, I'm willing to play.
Me neither.
Still.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to play Butler. I don't know how much they push him. Even if he plays 32 minutes, Butler's kind of stunk this year by his standards, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantasy wise, do you want to guess what Butler's fantasy points per minute is in the season, DK wise?
1.11.
Less.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So like 1.03.
No, you middled it basically. 1.09. Worse than Colin Sexton. Worse than Jalen Smith. Worse than Kelly Olynyk. I'm only on the Indiana-Utah game. But, it's not been great. And maybe things will ramp up when playoffs start and whatever. But he's just overpriced for like what he is right now. Even if he was playing max minutes, he's still probably overpriced. Let's see. As far as ownership wise in this game, Indiana and Utah, the most popular plays currently on TK, the aforementioned Clarkson. I thought Clarkson would be a little bit less owned, but 6-7. I think he's in the 7s on FanDuel, like the mid 7s on FanDuel. 7-3 over there in FanDuel. 6-7 on TK, a little bit more palatable. Markkanen, sure. Gotta like Markkanen in this game. But he is 8-4.
Oh, yeah.
I like Kessler a little bit. 5K. I know his minutes have been kind of jerked around, but this feels like a game where Kessler in 22 minutes, which is his current projection, and I think he can get 24, 25. I think there's a path, right? I think we can get like a 12, 11, 4, like 4 stocks out of him in this game. So he's one of those guys
so like
I'm willing to play.
If that is going to be 20%, and Walker's going to be like, less than that, I think that's a really, really strong pivot away from Thad Young is Kessler.
What is happening in the football? Was there a disaster? Buffalo's kicker pulled a hamstring chasing down his block. So there's a blocked field goal, and he pulled a hammy. Thankfully, they're up 21-0, but is their kicker done for the game? And Pittsburgh Pittsburgh's got the ball in the red zone for Buffalo. 2 minutes to go in the first half. They're down 21-0. Got to think that, they're going to do their best to score a touchdown. I don't know what a field goal is going to do at this point, but I guess their best offense, Pittsburgh's best offense, is blocking field goal attempts.
Go ahead.
Who was the kicker chasing down? Was it like a big linebacker or something like that? Like a big dude that picked up the ball for Pittsburgh? The kickers typically, not the fastest guys in the field, but you were going to say, go ahead.
I was just surprised at the ownership of the bench guys on the Jazz. Clarkson, 22, George, 12, Kessler, 15, Olynyk, 11. Like, that's really high ownership for a full bench, right? I mean, that's pretty high.
Does it matter? So Utah is one of those teams where it's not that it doesn't matter, but like it matters less for Utah players when you're coming off the bench as opposed to if you're coming back off the bench for Boston or whatever, right?
Yes, that's true.
Just the way we're giving 24 minutes to Keontae George. He gets half the game. Sexton gets the other half, and Sexton's been very good, but 24 minutes is all I'm going to get. Fontecchio has been starting, and he's just kind of a 3-point machine. That's basically how he gets there. It's how if he's not making his 3, then forget it, go to bed. Kelly O, we're only giving him 18 minutes off the bench. We didn't mention John Collins. I think he is 6K for John Collins. And, it's just, again, it's a minutes thing. He did play 34 minutes last game versus the Lakers. but 34 last game, 14 before that, 24 before that. So how do you project John Collins minutes? Like, good luck. I'm glad I'm out of the projection team.
Yeah, you can't do it. I love Laurie in this matchup though, a ton. He's just such an awkward price though. It's tough because there's guys above him that you would much rather play. So it's tough to play him.
Join the conversation if y'all are hanging out in chat. If nothing else, hit that like button and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. But yeah, you still got us for 15 or 20 minutes or so until we hand it off to Roth and Keith and Will. Watching a little bit of football here on the old stat tracker. 2nd and 7 for Pittsburgh, 2 minutes to go. I imagine the people are watching this game as well as listening to us talking some NBA.
They already scored.
Johnson scored a touchdown. That's not good.
Wow.
We don't know Johnson scored. His only catch. Deontay Johnson's got a 10-yard touchdown. So shout out to Pittsburgh for not getting shut out. All right, 21-7, minute and a half to go until halftime. Anything else we should say? Closing thoughts as far as Indiana, Utah. We mentioned McConnell in passing. It's just 22 minutes of McConnell is so. But again, like, there's a chance I guess he plays a few more. I don't think it's going to necessarily be a mop situation, but he's a guy that could mop. We've seen it before. But Indiana's got a big old full roster. Both these teams have really full rosters. But also keep an eye on, and we don't know about this, Bruce Brown and Naismith. This is also a 9 o'clock game. When are we getting that news? Probably after 7 o'clock. We're probably not getting it at 7. We might get it at 7:30. Game time decision for Bruce Brown and Naismith. And we had a bunch of if-then stuff set up. I wonder if we have anything for this game. Naismith, if he's out, we have
no positive DK values, which I was surprised by.
Because everybody just gets like an extra 2 or 3 minutes, or they add another guy.
Yeah, I know. I still think Nemhard's a good play, even though he's really not projecting that way.
There's a little bit of a hedge there. They're projecting 11 guys to play if Naismith is out, but Nwora getting 3 and Wallace getting 2, Walker getting 2. Who's your favorite big in Indiana? Amongst like Toppin, Jalen Smith, Miles Turner. Did I miss somebody? Usually one of these guys, it gets there. Isaiah Jackson. You just never really know because they're all good fantasy point minute players. It's just getting on the court that's the toughest part.
I think Jalen Smith is my favorite.
Okay. Anything else we should say as far as Indiana and Utah?
Nope.
Let's talk about. We've kind of talked about it throughout the show because it's sort of it's right there and it's hard to ignore. OKC versus the Lakers, 238.5 is the total. OKC 1 point favorite here. We don't know about SGA. Shea is questionable with his knee. It is the front half of a back-to-back. Otherwise, they are fully healthy. LeBron's got that Q tag. He always has that Q tag, but he did sit last time with a Q tag. So maybe that's alarming. Maybe we should think it's actually possibly another opportunity where he would sit. I'm guessing he just, they just gave him a spot to rest. Lakers have been sputtering. LeBron is questionable with an ankle. Davis officially probable with his ankle. D'Angelo Russell questionable with an illness. He had a big game last game, right?
He was a midday questionable too.
Yeah, which certainly could matter. Maybe Austin Reeves will get a little bit more coming his way. Reddish is out with a knee, and Gabe Vincent. I don't know. Have we seen Gabe Vincent play all season long for the Lakers? He may have yet to play a basketball game, but
Kyle Lowry's in. We did not have him projected.
He was doubtful. That's interesting. Yeah, now that hurts Miami even more because if you were considering Miami stuff, it gets a little bit more congested. He was projected out, right?
Yep.
Okay. How much is Lowry? He's not like cheap enough where it's worth to think about, is it? I don't think so.
He's pretty cheap, but I don't know where
he's pretty terrible too, right? This is the problem.
Yeah, he's definitely very terrible.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I was not expecting that. Yeah. What's the plan here, Tim? Because This game is an hour and a half after the 4th of 5 games starts. Locks.
I think you really need to leave a 2v2 or 3v3 even for this game because it's so good. So leave it. Play. What's his name? Play Jalen Williams regardless. Okay, and then leave a 2v2 for SGA and or Anthony Davis. You get what I'm saying? So
what would that be?
Make it so that put SGA in your util, and if he's out, play AD. Right? I mean, that's what you could do. You could do that also, right?
You got to save some salary. It's $300 difference. You better not be save the salary.
But it's doable, right? And
or you can make him LeBron if LeBron plays. If you don't have the salary.
I guess I really don't want to play LeBron.
I don't either. But I'm just saying, like, if your option is I'm $100 short of Davis, like, well, you're gonna just say, okay, I'll play LeBron. Yeah.
So I mean, I think the best game on this entire slate is this game. So you could really play 3 or 4 pieces of this game and just not worry about the news in front of you. And just wait for all the news in this game, right? I mean, I have no issue with that.
Unless there's no news, and then you're really, the players you want are the high-priced players, and you might not have a salary to get many of them, and then you're stuck playing like Taurean Prince.
I guess, but I mean,
right. If you're playing to win, though, right? But I do see an if-then for Russell. If Russell sits, like you said, midday downgrade. And the only two, real screaming values, use that word, it's not because of salary, are Davis and LeBron. If Russell sits, Davis will have a 55-point projection, LeBron a 51-point projection, a median projection. Austin Reeves will be the next one, getting like 34. But then, like, it's a bunch of fringe guys and Prince and Wood and Christie and Hachimura, and none of them feel good. And they're all projected for various degrees in the teens, right? But one probably rises as like the best option, but I don't really know how to identify who amongst Prince, Wood, Christie, Hachimura. Well, it's probably not Christie. It could be Wood.
Not Christie. Could be Wood.
I don't mind Prince. Hachimura, maybe. I think Prince would be the best option amongst that group.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
But like, it's not great as far as the options. TJ's talking about sneakers in the chat. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah. Favorite basketball sneakers, I believe.
Are you a sneakerhead? Were you ever a sneakerhead, Tim?
I had the Gary Paytons way back when.
Oh, that really dates. That dates.
Those were my favorite.
The Gary Paytons. Okay,
yep.
I didn't know he had his own shoes.
He did.
Did you have? You didn't have Jordans? The Jordan was your guy.
No, I had Paytons. Yep.
I see TJ hyping up a McGrady, of course, from the Toronto Raptors, so no surprise there. Jump in here, TJ.
That was almost like borderline too early for me. Like, my first T-Mac experience was at the dunk contest.
Yeah.
But I actually, like, my very first NBA game I ever went to was when T-Mac was in the Magic, and he put up 39 points in the first 3 quarters, then didn't play in the fourth.
Yeah. Remember he played baseball very briefly as a pitcher. Remember that, TJ? You recall?
I don't actually.
Yeah, Google it. Give it a Google. He was a minor league pitcher, very, very briefly, like after his basketball career. I don't think it was too successful.
Who was?
Tracy McGrady.
Really?
I'm not making this up, am I? I'm like 99% sure this happens.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Wow. It happened.
That's crazy.
It was kind of a blip. I don't think he was very good, but it's kind of just a random sort of aside. Wow. Who did he play for? Is that a Dodgers jersey?
These were the shoes I was talking about in chat. They're so funky, but I had them as a kid and I love them.
What do you have right now? Do you is there a pair that you have? Like, some people just like, they just display them. They keep them in the box. Are you that guy, or not necessarily? You're wearing these shoes.
I have both. I have shoes that I don't wear very often and usually stick in the box, but my go-tos are Jordan 11s.
That means it's like the 11th generation of the Jordans. I'm assuming. It's a really naive question. I'm assuming that's what it means.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'll show you them. They're like among the more famous Jordans. They're the ones he was wearing in Space Jam.
So what are they on now? If Jordan 11s were a thing in like 1996, well, what number is Jordan on now?
These are the Jordan 11s.
Well, there's like 19 different pairs on there, TJ. I don't know which one's which.
They're all the same shoe. They're just different colors.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Never mind that.
Come on, Dean.
Tim, you didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on right now.
I bet you Roth is a sneakerhead. I feel like Roth has got to be a big sneaker guy. Well, maybe we'll ask him when he jumps on here.
What about Iceman? He could be a sneaker guy too.
I don't know. It's a good question. We can wager on this. Do you want to wager on it?
well,
what's the smart money?
Roth is a lock, I think.
For sure. Right.
So,
Roth is like minus 300 sneakerhead.
Yeah. I say Iceman's like even money.
Will? Could go either way.
Could go either way.
I don't know.
He surprised me. He said that he majored. Well, isn't he a finance guy? And he's a music guy too.
He's a man of many skills. Yeah, for sure.
But he does coach basketball also. So
he's like the Dos Equis guy. He's the most interesting man in the world.
Right.
Will. I think he coaches his daughter, or at least he did coach his daughter people one time. I think he just watches his son. Doesn't get involved in his son's basketball. But all right. People in chat are talking about their favorite shoes right now. We do have 5-10 minutes, depending on when crunch time knocks on the door. So any questions you may have, by all means, fire them off. Shoe related or not. If they are shoe related questions, they're probably questions that will be designated for TJ. TJ would have to jump in on that. Now Flying Armbar is pivoted from shoes to jerseys. I'm not a big jersey guy. I mean, I'll wear the logo of a team, but like the actual person, cannot tell you the last person's jersey. I do not know. It's been a long time.
I don't think I've ever owned a jersey, to be honest with you.
Do you have some sort of fandom, or you did at some point, right? You had favorite
Not really.
teams?
I mean, the Red Sox, and the Bruins, but I never had a jersey. Nope.
Certainly, if you had a Bruins jersey, you would have burned it last year when my Florida Panthers embarrassed them and knocked him out. The 1 seed knocked him out of the playoffs.
100% correct. I'm still pretty tilted by that.
Trey in chat says, "Can you play LBJ and Davis on FanDuel tonight?" Like, it's hard salary wise.
Yeah.
I don't know if he found a way to do it, and the rest of the lineup's not going to be great. I think they both play, for the record. Like, I assume they both play, but yeah.
I don't personally think that's a good play. If you want to do it, go for it, but I don't think it's a good play.
Different positions, but try to find SGA to replace LeBron. Like, if you can sort of make that work. I know it's not easy.
If you play LeBron and AD on FanDuel, you have 55-71 left, which is pretty ugly. But yeah, I don't like the play personally.
Big Melvy in chat talking about FanDuel specifically for tournaments. This is not cash. Thoughts on Dunn, Sexton, and Clarkson preferences. I'm not sure if he wants you to power rank. Certainly Clarkson's the best of those three, but he's also the most expensive of those three. How would you prioritize Clarkson, Dunn, Sexton?
Clarkson, Sexton, and Dunn.
Mitchell says hockey jerseys are the best, and I think I would, just like as far as aesthetically. Yeah, the hockey jersey.
I would agree. Also,
if you're like a husky fella, like you got some sleeves, you don't have to show off the guns there for basketball. It's more versatile depending on who happens to be wearing it. And I think it has some cooler logos in hockey, just in general. But I don't know if that doesn't mean you don't have to like hockey at all. But just I think they have some pretty sweet logos. Best logo in sports.
Ooh.
Tim. What do you got? Give me the best logo.
That is tough.
I got a couple.
I really like the Kraken.
Ooh. What was your answer 3 years ago?
I really like their jersey. I really like their jerseys too. So,
I loved everything they did as far as marketing wise in Seattle. The jerseys are spectacular.
Me too.
I'm not even a Kraken fan or whatever. Like, sure, I don't root against him. I like Vince Dunn, the defenseman, because people want to know, Tim, he's on my my dynasty league for hockey.
Yeah, of course he is.
You got to get that in. But I think the most underrated one, like the Montreal Expo, is spectacular. I love the Milwaukee Brewers one, and I don't know if TJ can pull this up. The old school Milwaukee Brewers one, it's so clever. It's like a mitt, but it's a baseball mitt. It's a baseball glove. Right now, it's not the one they have anymore, but it's the old school one. But there's an M and a B in it. Like they actually have an M and a B in the logo for Milwaukee Brewers. And like I think I had to read something. Somebody like pointed out to me and said, "Oh man, that was like the most clever design." The old school Milwaukee Brewers.
That's exactly what they have now, is an M and a B with a mitt in the middle.
They've changed it up though. They've changed it up several times. Are you sure that's their official logo right now? Is it
this one?
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So you see the M and the B?
Yeah.
Like that's brilliant. That's freaking whoever the graphic designer was for that. Give them a raise. That's not spectacular.
I mean, it actually is more of like a BM. So it's like, what are they? The bowel movers?
The M is on top of the B. There are certain teams that are the Oakland Athletics are like the bowel movers. Are they still the Oakland Athletics? I guess they are going into the season. But let's see if the chat has any answers on that. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what else is on chat's mind. Who's the player that you're most afraid of not having, Tim, for whatever reason? Obviously, we do live with salary cap. You're making one main lineup. Who are you afraid of? Just like, you know what? I want to have this player. I'm just not going to get to him for whatever reason.
I think Derek White and Lauri Markkanen, those two guys, might be the answer to that.
If you're making one lineup, is there sort of like a thought process of like sort of telling a story? And if you happen to be playing like a Hauser, or if you happen to be playing like a Pritchard, you're sort of hoping that game like blows out. Not that like, you know it's going to blow up, but certainly it can.
Right.
I'm afraid of not having Celtics. Is sort of my thought. I don't know how.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I am going to play Tatum and Hauser, but not White, and that makes me really nervous. Not having White.
Is Porzingis the like lowest owned amongst the studs for Boston?
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's an awesome tournament play. I think Porzingis is just because tell me who's going to stop Porzingis on Toronto. Just give me the list. Yeah, it's like
you don't think Pascal could?
I'm not certain they're going to throw him on there. They might throw him on. But what if they throw Young on him
Well, Young's not going to stop him, but I think Pascal could.
Or Jonte. Maybe they throw Jonte on him. I don't know. Because Zinger is starting at the 5. Also, you think that Pascal's going to be on Zinger and they'll throw Young on Horford, now like an old man, just sort of like gentleman's agreement. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone kind of thing.
That's what I'm envisioning, but I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah. Mr. Richards, the one player you need on DK single entry. Who's that?
I would say it's Jalen Williams.
Yeah, I like that call. Derek shouting out the Seahawks. I like the old school Seahawks, like the old Steve Largent Seahawks emblem was pretty cool. Present day's fine. Flying Garber, worst NFL jerseys. Carolina Panthers. It screams expansion. It feels so dated. That's my first answer. It feels like it's straight out of like 1997. They need a revamp up and down that organization.
I don't like the Buccaneers uniforms.
What about the creamsicle, like the orange creamsicle, when they bust that out?
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah. And I still say that the Houston Oilers, I'm kind of biased because I was an Oilers fan many years ago, but that uniform is absolutely gorgeous. Roth is hanging out in chat. Roth, feel free to jump in and chime in. We're just killing time until all crunch time comes in. We have a couple questions for Roth as well. He said he was going to say Bucks.
Bucks was the answer. Bucks uniforms are just blah, blah.
What about the old 3-point stance? Remember the old 3-point stance on the helmet? And then did you like that? They're not rocking that anymore, I don't think. But that was kind of a cool.
Yeah,
no?
I do remember that now. Yeah, I mean, their uniforms obviously used to be awesome. The creamsicle is one of the greatest uniforms ever, but their current one is just, I don't know, college football team like.
Do you remember they were pewter for a bit? They rocked pewter for a while. I guess that's gone, right? The pewter is no longer a thing for Tampa. I feel like it's faded out.
They still got some pewter mixed in.
We wagered on this, Roth. So you got to answer this one. Take a second to concentrate. We were talking about shoes and sneakers. TJ producing the show. TJ's big in the shoes. Myself and Tim, not so much. That was probably predictable. But we were trying to think, okay, Roth. There's no chance Roth is not a sneakerhead. Can you confirm or deny? Is Roth a sneakerhead?
I think I have one pair of sneakers total, and I will wear them until they run dead, and then I will buy my next pair of sneakers.
Oh, that's bad chalk. That's bad chalk.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
That's like Sam Hauser chalk right there.
I am a dress shoe fanatic. I have many fancy dress shoes. I love a fancy dress shoe. It's the weatherman in me. I can't help it.
But do you wear them often? You go to like these fancy places?
If I can stop you, Roth, they're actually called meteorologists, not weathermen.
Sorry. Thank you for using my line on me. Thank you, TJ.
You enjoying the Bills, by the way, Roth? Are you watching this weather game?
No. Does the weather look great, though? It looks fine.
I haven't had a chance to really watch it.
I haven't.
We've been doing the show.
I'm so pissed that I had the under so early in that when the weather was going to be so shitty and it was going to be so bad. And then they moved the freaking game, and now the weather's great. And these people are trapped on the unders. They're trapped, Dean.
I bet under Steph Diggs receptions, and he already went over in the first half.
Of course, it's ludicrous. I can't believe they could do that to us legally. That shouldn't be allowed.
Well, I'll supply you with an email if you want. I'll send one to you after the show. Keith, by the way, I thought Will was supposed to be here. Taylor, are you late swapped? What's up, Taylor?
I got late swapped in.
No.
All right.
Lower salary than Will, so hopefully I can buy it.
But the cap's tight tonight. So I guess it's tight in the show too. I don't know. But
yeah, we'll take whatever value we can get here.
We got to knock out our fair play before you step aside and get out of here. Make way for the FanDuel sponsor crunch time. But we were debating Keith. I said no. Keith's not a sneaker guy. I could be surprised, but I don't think so. Confirm or deny?
I'm definitely not a sneakerhead. Same as Roth. I have one pair. I will wear them till they wear out, and then I will get my new pair.
I thought you might be a secret sneaker guy, but I was wrong. No.
My guy is Porzingis. I'm going to say Porzingis is sort of like the off the board, which feels weird saying off the board, but kind of off the board as far as a tournament play today. Tim, see it and raise it. Who is going to break the slate? Who's the player you need to take down some American dollars?
My hot take is Keontae George outscores Dennis Smith.
Okay. And I'm just going to Walker Kessler is another guy I think is pretty useful. I'll be over the field on him in that Utah Indiana game. Myself and Tim, we do appreciate y'all watching the first portion. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. 40 minutes until lock as far as this NBA slate. 5-gamer. You got Taylor, you got Keith, and you have Roth taking you home. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. It's crunch time, holiday edition, MLK Day version of this crunch time. Games have been scattered out through the day, and we got a handful more to walk you through all the way up to lock and then through lock. And just thrilled to be joined by two of the best in the biz. We got Taylor in the house, late swapped in, and we're happy for it. What up, Taylor?
Not much. I've been flying all day, so glad to be back and ready to dive into a little 5-gamer tonight.
I don't mean to pry, but where are you flying? Because basically the entire country is shut down with snow and ice. So
yeah,
you made it somewhere.
I was in Austin visiting my family this weekend, and it was 18 degrees this morning.
Yeah,
so it was a lot of fun.
You got out just in time. I'm in Texas, and I was just outside, just shivering my ass off, insulating all the pipes outside. It's not fun. I'm sure you're glad to be back in sunny LA.
Yes. Very, very happy. 69 degrees, so nice day.
Freaking jerk. You didn't have to throw that in. We got Keith Eyster as well, the Iceman. What up?
Not much. 67 here in Phoenix. So I don't know what you guys are all complaining about. You just live in the wrong part of the country.
Oh, man, that sounds glorious. How's this slate looking to you, Ice?
Pretty good. We've got some injuries, so there's a little bit of value, but not a ton. A couple of exciting games. Well, not from a watchability standpoint necessarily, but Indy, Utah looks to have some fantasy goodness. Thunder, Lakers should be a nice close game. And then I like the Boston Toronto game a good amount too. So some pretty good games, despite there only being 5 of them.
Okay, very nice. Well, I am excited to kind of dive into the slate. Taylor, this is not uncommon for me, but I have followed nothing all day. It's a holiday. Kids are out. The freaking roads are iced over here. I have done nothing but survive all day long. So I need you to catch me up. I've had no fun today, and I think I'm just going to start max entering. I think I'm just going to enter every tournament I can find here in the next 38 minutes. So help walk me through this slate, and we'll pick some winners.
Yeah, so I think the big news so far is that Jaylen Brown is out for the Celtics, so they're going to be popping in projections quite a bit. We have late news with LeBron and SGA both questionable in the last game of the night. Starts in 90 minutes after everything else, so I think it's smart to at least save yourself 2 spots maybe in the late game and kind of bank on news. But there is enough value in the early games where you don't have to do that. We got Jimmy Butler in. Kyle Lowry went from doubtful to officially questionable, but he's on track to play. So sounds like that's happening. Jaime Jaquez is out. Jakob Poeltl out. A couple of Pacers are questionable. Bruce Brown and Aaron Nesmith. So still some news to come in, but looks good for now. I think ready to build.
Okay, well, why don't we just start over on FanDuel? Of course, this show, by the way, sponsored by FanDuel. So let's jump into a build over there and walk me through what the plays are, where the value is, and who we're spending on.
Yeah, so let's check out the core plays here from Notorious. He's got Lowry Markkanen and Derek White tagged. White looks good, of course, with Brown out for Boston. Yeah, he's popping into most optimals on FanDuel. He's 7,500. Gets a big usage boost without Jaylen Brown, just like Jason Tatum does. So he's kind of a staple of cash builds on FanDuel. For value, Dennis Smith, even against Miami, not a great matchup, but he's cheap. He's been playing more minutes. I think he's fine, kind of in the mid-range at 5.5. Dennis Schroeder, the Raptors look better with Brown out. The game potentially should stay closer with Boston a little shorthanded. So Schroeder and Emmanuel Quickley are both looking pretty good. Quickly, you can play at shoot guard, which is helpful tonight. Guys like Ben Mathurin will look better if Nesmith and or Brown are out, but he's still playable either way. This Utah-Indiana game has a high total, pretty tight spread. Mathurin's 5.7 on FanDuel, projecting for a lot of ownership, but nice value over there for cash. Jalen Williams is a good play either way, regardless of the SGA news. If SGA is out, he's going to get a huge boost and maybe become the best play on the whole slate. He's 7,800, so he's not necessarily cheap, but he would be too cheap for the role he'd play without Shea tonight. But still good either way. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility on FanDuel is helpful. Sam Merrill is an okay value. 4,500. The Bulls allow a lot of three-pointers. That's kind of all Merrill does. Low floor because of that, but not a bad value for cash. RJ Barrett, another Raptor that looks fine at 65. He's played quite well since moving to Toronto from New York. Jason Tatum, like we said, it gets like a 5.5% usage boost with Brown out. Toronto, not a very good defensive team either, so happy to spend on Tatum in cash builds at 10K flat. Cam Johnson is a decent value for the Nets. I think he's under 6K. LeBron looks fine if he plays. I do lean toward LeBron playing. He missed the last game, but in general, it's worked pretty well to expect LeBron to play. So I do anticipate him playing tonight, but we will officially find out later. With Poeltl out, Thad Young should start for the Raptors. He's a really good value at 4,100. His minutes have been up in that starting role. Maybe not the most comfortable value, but he's still pretty good per minute, even at the age of 70. Lowry Markkanen looks fine around 8K against Indiana as well. Let's see. And at center, I think Nick Claxton is the one popping into most lineups on FanDuel for 75. Not an ideal matchup against Bam, but center's not super strong on this slate. Bam on the other side of that looks fine if you have a little more money to spend. And Jalen Smith has been starting for Indiana. He's still reasonably cheap, good per minute guy. So he's fine as more exposure to the Utah-Indiana game.
Okay. I feel like the whole like SGA questionable thing was a little bit glossed over there. Like, is this as if, Luka's out and all of a sudden the whole build pivots to the dudes that are going to soak up his usage and his assist rate and his rebound rate?
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like the Toronto and Boston game is at 7:30, and the Laker game's 3 hours later. We're going to get a lot of value from that in the Indiana-Utah game. But since the Indiana-Utah game is at 9 Eastern, we can kind of wait a little bit and hope that maybe the SGA news pops before that starts. So maybe you can do some swapping. But it looks good either way. Like I'm happy to get to Indiana or Utah pieces regardless. But yeah, if he's out, it's going to be Jalen Williams, like I said. Josh Giddey presumably would see a lot more playmaking too. And maybe someone like Cason Wallace jumps into the starting lineup. So yeah, there will be plenty of value if he's out because that's a huge, huge deal. He's the leader in usage on that team.
Right. Okay. Very good. Let's bring in Keith Eyster and discuss tournament builds. Are you backloading this and waiting for news? Because it seems like those last 2 games, that's where the winning combination could come from.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very important aspect of this slate. So I the way I'm building it is just game stack that game. So I have a little bit of flexibility with my lineups if things do change. I'm building like SGA is going to play, and LeBron is always questionable. He did sit in the last game, but it feels like LeBron is playing in this one as well. So I'm planning as both of them are playing. But I'm going to make sure that I have plenty of roster spots to manipulate my lineups if, in fact, one or both of them do get ruled out.
Because if one of those guys gets ruled out and you don't have swappability, you're pretty much done, right? I mean, that's the kind of value that's going to open up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of, like, let's say SGA gets ruled out. Like, Jalen Williams is an awesome play, but he's already a good play, even with SGA in. So just build overweight on Jalen Williams to start with. The secondary guys, like maybe you see like Josh Giddey is a name that could definitely get elevated. Isaiah Joe possibly. But like his minutes are so volatile. That's not a comfortable play. Cason Wallace is so low per minute. Like that's not going to be a super value that's popping. Kind of the same thing on the Lakers. Like you're talking about guys like Taurean Prince, Jared Vanderbilt, like Max Christie, like none of these guys are like super great per minute producers. So
okay,
I don't think it's that much better than the value that we have in Boston, Toronto already.
Okay, thank you. All right, well then let's walk through a build over there on FanDuel and what your favorite thoughts and plays are.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm basically playing this as a 3-game slate because Chicago-Cleveland is a very slow pace game. I do have a couple Donovan Mitchell just because he has a massive ceiling. Has been really good without Mobley and Garland as well. So Mitchell is the only guy I have on either side. The Bulls are getting healthier. All 3 stars are back in now after Levine missed a bunch of time. Vooch missed a couple of games there. And Kobe White just took on a much bigger role while Levine was out. So like it's hard to decipher where the usage is coming from with Kobe White having a bigger role now. And it's a tough matchup against Cleveland. So basically skipping everything on Chicago. The Cleveland side, again, like it's just Donovan Mitchell for me. Allen has been really good, but he's priced up, and it's just a slow paced game. So avoiding that one. And then Miami is getting healthier as well. Jimmy Butler's missed the last couple of games, and Kyle Lowry, it's now looking like, is going to play. So everybody a little bit overpriced on Miami. Another slow paced game there. Jaquez is out, but we're not seeing really anybody get elevated from that with Butler and Lowry returning. So basically just leaving those 2 games out, building with Boston, Toronto, Indy, Utah, and Thunder, Lakers.
Okay, nice. Do you feel you want to go position by position, or would you rather hold that for DK?
Yeah, let's go ahead and run through it here real quick.
Okay, great.
So, I mean, I'm pretty chalky with just a few differentiators throughout my lineups. Donovan Mitchell is definitely one of those guys I want to differentiate with. A pivot off of SGA and play Jalen Williams heavier in that type of a lineup. Jordan Clarkson is one of my favorite tournament plays in that Utah-Indy game. Love the game environment. Neither team plays defense. Indy plays super fast, so nice pace-up spot for Jordan Clarkson. Dennis Smith Jr. is a value that's popping. He's been playing low 20s minutes. I think there's some risk there. Like Lonnie Walker is lurking, but if he's going to play 23, 24 minutes, the usage has been really good off the bench. I probably end up underweight on Dennis Smith Jr. though. My favorite pivot would be Dennis Schroeder. Just on the other side of Boston. Boston is one of my favorite teams on this entire slate. Like Derek White is definitely a guy I want to be well over the field on. Jason Tatum, I want to be well over the field on. Kristaps Porzingis, I want to be well over the field on. Drew Holiday, I want to be well over the field on as well. Because Toronto has taken a step backwards defensively since they traded OG Anunoby. Since the trade, they're 7th in pace in the NBA, and they're 28th in defensive rating. So this is a much better matchup than people might realize. Like Toronto is not great from a season-long perspective. I think they're like 16th in pace and 21st in defensive rating for the season. But those numbers are much better since the trade. So really good spot for Boston with Jaylen Brown out, everybody getting a boost. Definitely going well overweight the field on the Boston guys. I think that about does it for guards. Austin Reeves, definitely a guy who's not popping super hard, but
before you move on from guards, we did just get news that Gary Trent is out. Also, for what it's worth, Patrick Williams is out. And I don't know what, if anything, that changes for you.
So the Patrick Williams thing doesn't change much of anything. I do think Caruso has very safe minutes now. Dosunmu is probably the guy that's going to get the massive minutes bump. Javon Carter is going to get a minutes bump. Javon Carter played ahead of Dalen Terry last game. It is worth noting that Terry has been on the injury report. So I don't know if that's like a decision that Javon Carter is back ahead of Dalen Terry or whether Dalen Terry is just a little bit banged up right now. So we'll have to see what the projection guys do with that. But still, I don't think any of those guys, like Dosunmu's low per minute, he's probably going to play 30 minutes at this point. But not great value just because he's low per minute. I think Carter is the most interesting GPP option from the Bulls now, but it's very unsafe. Like he could literally play 6 minutes in this spot. If he plays 18 to 20, then he becomes a pretty good tournament play.
And how about Gary Trent being out? We've got some people asking about McDaniels, Reporter. Is there anybody that kind of slides into a playable role there?
Definitely more important news here on Gary Trent. I think it means Emmanuel Quickley's minutes are really safe now. RJ Barrett kind of got pulled out of the rotation last game. He didn't start the second half. So I think that eliminates concern for RJ Barrett. As far as guys getting boosts minutes wise, like McDaniels is probably the guy. I think honestly, you just see more minutes from like the Barrett, Quickly, Schroeder types, and they were already popping as pretty decent values. I like those three guards for Toronto quite a bit.
We're bringing in our Canadian expert to help us break this down. TJ, please, any thoughts?
I think the biggest thing is it could be McDaniels as the one guy they just sort of plug in instead of for his minutes. But I think the biggest thing it'll do is eliminate their ability to go small. So I think it kind of hammers home the likelihood that one of Thad Young, Chris Boucher, and Jonte Porter will be on the court pretty much at all times.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The other name that could pop up for some minutes is Grady Dick, but they don't really seem to want to give him a ton of run. So I like TJ's thought there that it just means more secure minutes for guys like Jonte Porter and Chris Boucher.
Okay, very nice. Keep rolling because I cut you off with that news. I think you were somewhere in the forwards.
Yeah, no, that was important stuff. So glad we got that out. Moving on to the forwards, Jason Tatum is one of the best plays on the entire slate. Absolutely love him. Mentioned the boost. Taylor did the boost without Jaylen Brown on the floor. Lauri Markkanen in a great spot. Awesome matchup against Indiana. Jalen Williams in a good spot. If SGA misses, he's going to be one of the best plays on the entire slate. Those three guys are chalky. I'm just embracing that chalk. I think they're top plays. To get a little bit different, play some Anthony Davis. I prefer him over LeBron, who's popping with a little bit of ownership. Give me Davis over LeBron. Let's see. Benedict Mathurin is a nice value play. Porzingis is one of my absolute favorite pivots on the slate. Much better matchup against Toronto than people realize. Austin Reeves has small forward eligibility. Let's see here. John Collins is a really interesting case. His minutes have been all over the place. He played 34 minutes in the last game. The game before that, he played 14 minutes. So you're taking on a lot of risk there.
Yeah,
but
I landed on
big
him.
Time upside.
Yeah, I was very curious about that, so I'm glad you're breaking that down.
Yeah, big time upside, but also massive risk. like Walker Kessler is lurking. Kelly Olynyk is lurking. They have plenty of bigs. It's just what they decide to do with this rotation. It's an awesome matchup against Indy, who gives up a ton of paint points. Like I'm just embracing the variance and plugging him in just because the upside is so good at that price tag if he plays 30 minutes in this spot. So love John Collins. Love RJ Barrett as well. Trying to see if there's anybody I missed. Nope, I think that about does it. Center position, like Taylor mentioned, it's honestly pretty weak. That's part of why I like AD quite a bit. I think Bam is okay. It's tough with Jimmy Butler coming back, though. Definitely is going to cut into his usage a little bit. I don't want to play Claxton into that much ownership. Another reason, like Porzingis, I play him at the center position. Miles Turner is one of my favorite tournament pivots as well. Great matchup for him against Utah. Talked about John Collins quite a bit. I think Kessler is fine too. Kind of the same conversation, like projected for 22 minutes, could see 24, 25 and really good per minute. So like just embrace the Jazz rotation is impossible to project. Like we have no idea what they're going to do on a given night. Lean into that in tournaments in this awesome matchup and just hope that you get the guy that sees the spike in minutes and you might find a ceiling that way.
Okay, very good. We should note, by the way, Crunch Time presented by FanDuel. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. For those of you in the great state of Vermont, you now have access to the FanDuel Sportsbook. And special offer for you. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets on any market. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Guys, this is the moment of my day that just happened. My wife just texted me, if school is open or closed tomorrow. This determines my entire happiness for the night and the degree of how my day will go tomorrow. I'm about to read it. Please, dear God. Please, dear God. Oh, son of a bitch. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. I love my kids. It's great. Okay. All right. I'll be fine. I'll be okay. Let's kick it to DK. Taylor.
I don't think Taylor and I know your pain. Taylor, I don't think
We
you
do
have
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Walk me through the build.
It's funny because
that's good.
No.
It's funny because it's true. After 3 days in a row, it's going to be 4 days in a row now. All right. Let's Taylor, go ahead and I don't know. Cheer me up. What do we got?
It's funny that went from being like the best news ever that you'd want to see to the worst news ever that you don't.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be good stuff there, but no. Yeah, we've pivoted how school days being closed goes. Okay, Taylor, what do we got?
So, on DK, a lot of the same names, of course. Plenty of Toronto. They were popping already, but even more so now with Trent out. Sam Hauser is the one that pops into most lineups of anyone. He's under 4K, not projected to start with Brown out, but should see a boost in minutes. Sam Hauser chalk sounds like something to avoid in tournaments, but in cash, I think you just eat it and go for the value there with him at either forward spot. So point guard Dennis Smith Jr. again, more minutes, 4,800. He's even cheaper on DK than on FanDuel. Good cash play just because the role is good, even in a not so great matchup. Derek White, 7,200, great value with Brown out for Boston. Quickly and Schroeder again look excellent, even more so now with no Trent. SGA is fine. He's always cheaper on DK than he is on FanDuel. They never seem to raise his price for whatever reason. I think you can plug him into a cash lineup and obviously pivot him out for, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams. Just leave more than one spot open so you don't eat like 3K in salary if you do that. But I think he's fine in cash if he suits up. Very safe per minute kind of guy. RJ Barrett, like Keith was saying, there were some weird minutes in the last game, but they did get blown out by Utah. We expect normal run for him tonight. They can't really bench him for Gary Trent since Gary Trent is not playing. So I think he's a good cash play at shooting guard, small forward on DK. Jordan Clarkson looks really good over here. I think he's a great play in all formats. Massive upside. For the Jazz as their usage leader. He's kind of been doing a little bit of everything this season, which is intriguing for cash and tournaments. Jalen Williams, again, looks really good. Even better if SGA is out. Tatum, like Keith said, is a phenomenal play with more usage without Jaylen Brown. Caruso is popping into some lineups now with Pat Williams out, 5,200. Don't mind that if you're scrambling for some value at shooting. I think small forward, shooting guard. Power forward, again, Sam Hauser, Jalen Williams, Tatum. Marketing is good, not a must, just because we do have all those other guys. But if you want to plug him in, he is a perfectly fine play. Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't hate as a value. Porzingis, probably more of a tournament guy. And at center, you can go plunge all the way down to Thad Young at 4,100. Another guy that had weird minutes in the last game, but should be starting again tonight against Boston. Claxton, once again, over here is fine. Walker Kessler is a decent value. Like he said, Indiana just gets murdered in the paint every night. It's a good spot for him. And I don't mind Chet Holmgren either. Another guy that might be a little better suited in tournaments, but he should see more usage if SGA is out too. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for cash.
Nice. I like that Chet call. I feel like that if SGA is out, that could be a good one. Okay, Ice, let's talk DK. What do you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, same strategy, just kind of fading Chicago, Cleveland, fading Miami, Brooklyn, and getting well over the field on Boston. Toronto is making it into a lot of my builds now because of
Are you
Gary
too
Trent
chalky?
being
Ice, are you too chalky with your build?
a little bit. Like I think the chalk is really strong tonight. I am getting different a little bit with my Boston pieces, like Kristaps Porzingis, 11% ownership. I like that a good amount. Well under the field on Sam Hauser value. I think Jonte Porter is the pivot to that. He has power forward eligibility over here on DraftKings, which is really important. For just $200 more than Hauser. He saw decent run in that last game. So a guy that they've been Toronto, this is wanting to get some looks at. Porter is my pivot off of Hauser. I think that's going to help me be unique. Like Holiday and Porzingis, I'm well over the field on those guys. I think they're Boston pieces that aren't chalky, and then the OKC guys aren't terribly chalky either. Like SGA at 20%, it's 5 games. Like you're gonna have some ownership on a 5-game slate, so a little more ownership than I generally play into, but it just because of the 5-game slate, and I feel strongly that the good games are the good games.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. You want to go through some plays, or shall we just open it up to QQs? We got about 15 minutes.
Not a lot different. A lot of the same names because I'm targeting the same teams. I think the Jonte Porter thing, he's much more viable here on DK. He's center only on FanDuel. I don't mind him there, but more opportunity cost going with a cheap punt type play at center on FanDuel than there is on DraftKings. So that's the major difference. Well over the field, heavy exposure to Jonte Porter here.
Okay, very good. Guys, we got oodles and oodles of time and hundreds and hundreds of people in the YouTube chat watching. Make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up. This is free content, and you just watched a man have an actual mental breakdown live on air. So go ahead, hit us with a little thumbs up. Try to perk me up. Smash that like button for us. Let's open it up to some QQs here. Of course, as always, I'm going to start in the RotoGrinders Discord because that is where the cool kids are hanging out. Here we go. FanDuel cash question. Taylor, you want, I assume that's Dennis Smith and Jay Williams or Drew and Barrett. Are you muted, or I think you're muted? There you go. Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah.
You're good.
Slightly in the Jalen Williams one.
Okay.
Big payoff potential there.
Okay. And some people pointing out Porter is center only on DK, but you've got the util slot, which opens things up.
Yeah, I misspoke on that. He is center only, so not a direct pivot off of Hauser, but you can use the util spot to make that work.
Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. FanDuel GPP Ice, can you rank your top 3 Raptors? This is even better than I thought. Can we have a ranking of your top 3 Raptors scrubs?
I'm not into the scrubs really. I like that mid range much more. Like Schroeder, Barrett, Quickly are where my heavy Raptors exposure outside of Jonte Porter. I think Thad Young is playable. I don't know that I would touch anybody beyond Thad Young and Jonte Porter as far as scrubs go. McDaniels just doesn't do a ton while he's out there. I don't think Grady Dick has secure minutes. So it's Young and Porter, and because Young is popular, it's Porter first for me.
I think Grady Dick might actually be out, so that's another guy that they just can't run in there. So
okay, so McDaniel should have secure minutes, but he does not do much when he's out there.
Okay, if we do want 3 Raptors scrubs, I know a guy. He is a Canadian. He is a host of this show. He is behind the scenes, and he is ready and waiting and willing to jump in with 3 Raptors scrubs. TJ, take it away.
For tournaments, I would go 1 Jonte Porter, 2 Chris Boucher, 3 Thad Young, and basically just like that's for large field, and basically just flip it for cash and single entry.
Okay. Is Chris Boucher a scrub? Like, I thought that dude was really good. He gets buckets when he's in. He puts up fantasy numbers, right? But
he can put up a very good fantasy performance. Because he can hit threes and he can block shots, but he's about 6'11" and only 190 pounds soaking wet. And so he's not a great real life basketball player because he can only play a 4 or 5, but he's not strong enough to defend a 4 or 5.
Thank you for that. Sometimes I like just catching up on basketball things. I appreciate that. Let's see what else we got back in the Discord. And this is a FanDuel GPP question. I'm coming back to you here. Keontae George and Kessler, or Collins and Pritchard?
Yeah, that's like the Jazz are tough because we don't know how many they're playing, how many minutes they're playing. Collins and Pritchard was the other side of that.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I would lean into that side. I feel good about Collins seeing at least low 20s minutes. And Pritchard, I think if the game gets out of hand a little bit, which is possible, I think he could see additional run.
Okay. Hammer in the YouTube chat says Boucher is a waste of human skin, which is incredibly harsh. Yikes. All right. FanDuel single entry, your favorite stud. Let's open this up to both of you, Taylor. I want to bring you in first. Your favorite stud if you were building a FanDuel single entry, keeping in mind that stud is kind of relative on the slate where we don't have a bunch of massive spend ups.
Yeah, I think it's Tatum, even though he's probably going to be the chalkiest of them all. But if you want a pivot, I do like Keith's Anthony Davis call for 11-2.
Okay, Ice.
Tatum would be my favorite pick as a chalky one. I will take Porzingis as the pivot.
Nice. I like it. Let's see what else we got here. FanDuel cash question, Taylor, right back to you. It's a 3v3. You want Spidey Mitchell, Tatum, and Porter, or Bridges, LeBron, and Clickety Clacks? And he actually spelled it like that as well, which I always approve of.
What was the first one again?
Sorry, I distracted. It's my bad, man. Mitchell, Tatum, Porter, or Bridges, LeBron, and Claxton?
Slightly in the second one, just because Jonte Porter might be a little thin for cash. I assume, Is that the only Porter on the slate? There are a lot of Porters out there. I think it is.
Craig Porter, but he's not playing probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Second one.
We'll go to Go for the Win. Says, do I pray that Bruce Brown starts and play him, or play Cameron Johnson to be safer? It's a FanDuel GPP question.
Don't like the game environment for Cam Johnson. So I would play Bruce Brown, and if he sits, you can pivot to Buddy Hield.
Nice. Or Benedict Mathurin.
Or Benedict
Canadian.
Fellow Canadian. We'll go to Razmataz cash game question here for you. Taylor, you want Nemhard or DSJ? And what's with the DSJ love? Someone else asked. So answer both of those, Nemhard or DSJ, and why do we like DSJ?
I think it's DSJ for that one. It's not a great thing. It's just a lack of value, and his minutes have been up a little bit of late, and he's a good per minute guy. That's pretty much all it is.
Usage has been like 25% off the bench for what that's worth. I mean, so if he's going to play the low 20s minutes, good per minute guy.
Okay. I saw him. I don't know if he tried the yam on someone or if he succeeded the other day, but I remember watching him when he was a rookie and a second-year player in Dallas. That dude was so fun before he got hurt. He just tried to cram on every single person every single time. Is he about that life?
He might have lost some of that, but
he
should still be in there somewhere. I would think.
Used to be pretty fun. Let's see. FanDuel GPP. Nope, we got that one. We got that one. We got that one. Guys, get your questions in, or we're gonna end it early because the news that we're waiting for comes out really far away. So I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to get a couple more questions in. If not, we can always bounce on out of here. Yeah. Let's see.
We can't leave until I'm done building my all-Canadian GPP team in lineup HQ.
Are you really doing that? We got Nemhard, RJ, Mathurin, Boucher, Kelly O, SJ. Are these all Canadians?
This is actually a pretty good DFS team for tonight too.
I'm impressed. Can we fill it out? Can we finish it with Canadians? And do you just randomly have knowledge of everyone in the NBA who's Canadian?
Yes. I could probably tell you most NBA players' nationality if I'm being honest.
That's fantastic. Let's see what else we got here. Caleb Martin. Is Caleb Martin viable on FanDuel? Ice, you got any Caleb Martin?
I do not. I don't know if he's on a minutes restriction or if he just isn't seeing like the 30 minutes that he used to see. I'm pulling up the log right now. Like, it's taking too long to load, but I think he's been in like the 24, 25 minute range over the past several. So I just don't think there's quite enough juice for him in tournaments.
Okay.
Yeah. 24 and 23 minutes the last two games.
Okay. TJ's running out of steam here. He had to plug in O'Shea Brissett, and now he's got 9K left in the util. There's no Canadians he can spend up on. TJ, we'll let you just play someone on Toronto.
We're going Scotty Barnes because he's an honorary Canadian.
Yeah, we're gonna allow that in this case. Your favorite FanDuel GPP top spend up to win it all? We just kind of answered that one. It was Tatum as the chalky one, and AD for tournaments, and Ice. It was Tatum for chalky, and it was Zinger for tournaments for you. Let's see what else we got. Big Melby, FanDuel GPP's got 25 entries. Is 6 lineups with Cam Johnson too much? You're going to say yes, it is.
That would be too much for me. I don't love the ceiling on the guy, and it's a tough game environment against Miami. So I would try to cut that back a little bit. 5,800? Mathurin's a guy that was just mentioned. I like that as a pivot. If you don't have a ton of Mathurin, maybe grab a little more of him.
Okay, great. Any interest in Caruso to get different on FanDuel? I feel like we talked about it on DK. Maybe did we talk about it on FanDuel?
He's 5,800. That's a not a great price tag, but he should play a ton of minutes tonight. With no Patrick Williams, he's been seeing over 30 minutes. As long as he doesn't get hurt again, like he's done a couple of times this season and left games early, but he should be out there for 30 plus. So I don't hate it.
Okay. Yappy says DK GPP. I'm getting a lot of the good Jalen Williams on OKC. Is that okay? I feel like it's very okay. And you said you wanted to build heavy that way.
Yeah, very much.
Yep. Joe says Bobby Boucher or Hauser. Taylor, I'll let you answer that.
Cash Hauser tournament, probably Boucher.
Okay. Wallace on OKC or Merrill? Wallace or Merrill? Ice?
Give me Merrill there.
Okay. This is the final question of the day. We've got to all the questions. We're about 3 minutes until lock. It's from Smoke and Jay, FanDuel GPP. Give me a Feel It in Your Plums scrub play of the day. This is a new variation on your Feel It in the Plums play of the day. Your Feel It in Your Plums scrub play of the day, 5K and under.
It's going to be Jonte Porter for me.
Okay. Taylor?
Yeah, I do like that call a lot with Thad catching ownership. It's pretty slim pickings down here. I would say, yeah, I think I'm just going to say Porter too, or Sam Merrill.
Okay. Before we bounce, I should let you know about Sim Labs. And don't say Sims Lab, don't say Sims Lab. I'm going to read it right. Use Sim Labs to generate DFS lineups through the power of simulation, combining data from every aspect of the slate, churning out lineups, matching your preferences. I love it because it's easy. It just takes a few clicks. You can have hundreds of well-built, correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. You get to select large field, small field. And it includes now NBA. This is brand new. You can try it out is it still for free? It was supposed to end today. You can try it out. Use the link in the description. All Combo and NFL Premium subscribers have access to the NFL Sim Labs tool. It's exciting stuff. Make sure you're using it. I think we are now going to bounce on out of here. So, Taylor, thank you for jumping in. We appreciate it. For Taylor, for Ice, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.